With the WINN FM News, I am Kevin Brown.
And I am Yolana Weeks.
Our top stories. Elevate Heartfelt Moments initiative continues to provide family bonding opportunities for incarcerated individuals.
Premier Brantley confirms interest by an investor to develop a special sustainability zone in Nevis.
2025-2026 academic year opens with growth, resilience, and academic excellence in mind.
Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge threatens legal action against Brantley in the Nevis South Coastal Lands debate.
Guyana's president recommits support for U.S. regional operation. St. Lucians to have say in medical cannabis and hemp industry consultations. Internationally, child among 58 Palestinians wounded by Israeli army raid in Ramallah. Now, the details. The Elevate program continues the success of its Heartfelt Moments initiative, a family bonding initiative that allows residents of His Majesty's Prison, St. Kitts and Nevis, to share quality time with their children. The Heartfelt Moment program was officially launched on December 17th, 2024, and continued on August 23rd, 2025. The program continues to work on rehabilitation efforts. Alicia Collin, Elevate Program Coordinator, shared that the program is being done in stages.
Elevate is a transformational program that is being run from the Prime Minister's office. And last year, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Honorable Dr. Terence Joe, would have launched crime and violence as a public health initiative. We are also connecting them to their families. So we are reaching out to their families and we will continue to do work. We are doing it in stages.
One of the participating fathers of the program, Mikhail Marisha, who was allowed 8 hours of uninterrupted time with his daughter and other family members, shared thoughts on what the program meant to him.
Well, being able to interact with my daughter is a blessing because, like I said, my daughter is 10 years old and she's going, and so to be able to speak with her and spend time with her while she's going through her changes in life, it brings joy to my heart, you understand, because I recently learned that she's now playing football, you understand me. I just hope she turns out to be a little female football star, you understand me. Everything out of she mouth right now is football. When I was on the road, everything used to be dance. Now she shut dancing and it's football, you understand me. So being able to communicate with her and learn what she's going through on a daily basis, it's a blessing, and I'm really appreciative of it.
Marisha reminded people of the weight of crime on the family.
I would like them to do their best to keep away from trouble, bad company, because being incarcerated where you have to be on remand for several years before your case could come up, being away from your child who is growing up and those kind of things, it's heartbreaking, honestly. And that's why I'm so grateful for this opportunity to get to spend time with my daughter, you understand me, because I get to make up for time that was already lost, you understand me. So if you fall in the wrong crowd, if you get yourself mixed up in things, please, and you have children out there, please stay away from these things, you understand me, because the children need their father in their life, honestly. Growing up, they need some kind of male figure in their life, especially if you have a son. And most daughters, you don't know, father is everything to them, you understand me? So try to stay away from crime.
This initiative is in collaboration with His Majesty's Prison, social services, guidance and counseling professionals, psychosocial support providers, and connects families to tutoring, family counseling, and continued care services. The program objectives provide intentional quality time for residents of His Majesty's Prison and their children, promotes emotional healing, resilience, and positive communication, strengthens rehabilitation efforts, and supports reintegration and advance crime and violence prevention as a public health priority.
The Premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley, came under additional scrutiny on Monday night, August 25, after shifting his position on the possibility of developing a special sustainability zone locally. He dismissed earlier reports of an investor showing interest in such a project, explaining that no formal interest had been made to the Nevis Island administration, and in another instance referred to the reports as rumors. However, the Premier, in his Monday night, August 25 statement, confirmed that an investor expressed interest in pursuing a special sustainability zone on the island of Nevis. While he did not go into detail about the proposal and when it was brought before him, he acknowledged that discussions are underway to review the matter with no decision made.
My fellow citizens and residents, I address you this evening to explain to you recent legislative developments in the National Parliament of St. Kitts and Nevis, touching and concerning the Special Sustainability Zones Authorization Law, passed with unanimous support in the Parliament on Monday, 11th August 2025. I address you at this time because the Nevis Island Administration has been formally approached by an investor seeking to establish such a zone on the island of Nevis. That investor is a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis. Matters are now under active discussion at the cabinet level, and no decisions have been arrived at. It is, however, important that I keep the Nevision public fully abreast of developments to date.
The Premier sought to calm public concerns surrounding plans for a potential special sustainability zone being set up, stressing that any such development would function strictly within the law, with the Nevis Island Administration having full control of any development.
Under Section 4 of the law, the Prime Minister may enter into such development agreements and so declare any such zone on the island of St. Kitts. However, where any such zone is to be declared for the island of Nevis, Section 4.2 of the law makes it clear that there can be no such zone created in Nevis without the approval and consent of the Nevis Island Administration. I want to emphasize here that there can be no designation of any area in Nevis as a special sustainability zone unless the Nevis Island Administration agrees and approves that declaration. Full control of the development direction of Nevis therefore remains firmly and exclusively with the Nevis Island Administration. The role of Nevis applicable to any zone in Nevis is not restricted to the Nevis Island Administration. Under Section 7 of the law, any development agreement where the zone is in Nevis must be ratified and passed in the Nevis Island Assembly. Put differently, there is oversight and control at both the cabinet level in Nevis and at the parliamentary level as well. The mandatory involvement of the Nevis Island Assembly also ensures that any such development agreement is fully ventilated publicly so that the Nevision people will know exactly what is being proposed on the island of Nevis. Section 9 of the law provides yet additional safeguards by empowering the Prime Minister for zones in St. Kitts or the Premier for zones in Nevis to establish an independent oversight body to receive and review applications from potential zone developers and to monitor compliance with any zone development. Lastly, the law contains a large number of preconditions before any zone can be considered.
According to Brantley, the priority remains balancing potential economic benefits with the interests and well-being of citizens and the natural environment. He said the proposed requirements must be met before consideration can be given to any developer.
Under Section 5, any applicant to develop a zone must show, among other things, an economic analysis from a reputable firm showing long-term economic benefits to St. Kitts and Nevis, clear plans for developing the infrastructure within the proposed zone so that there is no cost to the Kittitian or Nevision taxpayer, that the development will cause no harm to the natural environment, that the development is designed for comfort and luxury, that the development will generate water and renewable electricity to meet its needs, clear plans for health services, clear plans for safety and security within the proposed zone, dispute resolution mechanisms for residents in the proposed zone. As these are all preconditions, it means that any proposed zone developer must satisfy these requirements before being considered as a suitable developer for any proposed zone in St. Kitts or Nevis. Now, what does this mean for Nevis? Of course, for a zone to succeed, we need serious investors and partners.
The Premier of Nevis expressed confidence that the proposed economic zone will bring significant benefits to the island, particularly by supporting economic diversification, which is part of a broader plan to reduce heavy reliance on the citizenship by investment program. Brantley said that the project has the potential to create new opportunities for investment and employment while strengthening the island's long-term resilience.
For years, I have said that Nevis needs a game changer. to take our island to the next level of development. The current investor has proposed a development for Nevis which has the potential to create thousands of permanent jobs for Nevisians at home and allow Nevisians abroad to come back home and find meaningful employment, bring billions of dollars of investment to our island, generate hundreds of millions in direct revenue for government, which will allow us to improve healthcare, strengthen education, upgrade our infrastructure, and expand social services, dramatically increase tourism and international recognition, making Nevis a leader in the Caribbean and a shining example to the world, preserve all historic sites and full access to our people, create significant opportunities for new businesses and the expansion of existing local businesses into the zone. I anticipate that more details will be shared in the weeks ahead, but I see before us a future fueled by prosperity, sustainability, and indomitable Nevisian pride.
Public reaction has been divided on the matter. Some residents welcomed the assurance of the Premier, seeing it as a chance to modernize the economy and generate new jobs. Others, however, remain skeptical, pointing to the Premier's earlier denial of knowledge about investor interest and questioning whether transparency is being upheld in the process. Calls have been made for clearer communication and greater community consultation on any large-scale development proposals.
The official opening of the 2025-2026 academic year was held on August 25th, 2025, as the Ministry of Education hosted its annual back-to-school ceremony. Government officials, education leaders, educators, and administrators gathered to celebrate the accomplishments and lessons learned from the past school year. They set a clear vision for continued growth, resilience, and academic excellence in the year ahead. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Education, the Honourable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, called on the nation's educators to embrace three guiding principles for success: safe spaces, partnerships, and shared responsibility. Minister Hanley charged the fraternity of educators to remain steadfast in the mission to make meaningful, long-standing change in the lives of the nation's youth. In a video message from the Education Minister, Lisa Pistana, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, and Chief Education Officer Francil Morris, they emphatically welcomed educators, parents, and students to the new school year.
I'm so excited to welcome all of my teachers back to school 2025-2026. Thanks for your service over these many years, and may God continue to bless each and every one of you as we continue working together, shaping the lives of our nation's youth. Welcome back to school.
It is an honor to welcome you back to the 2025-2026 school year. It's going to be an amazing year. Remember, come ready to learn and take advantage of all of the opportunities afforded to you. Welcome back and have a wonderful 2025-2026 school year.
On behalf of the Department of Education Services, I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone to the 2025-2026 school year. Let us make this year a new journey of growth, possibilities, and shared successes.
With the academic year officially opening with a sense of celebration and accomplishment, the year also opens to create space where students ask questions, make leaps, and discover paths to their future.
The Premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley, is citing hypocrisy on the part of a member of the opposition, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, in the ongoing debate over the development of a special sustainability zone on the island. During his Monday, August 25, 2025 address to the nation, Brantley alleged that Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge had previously sold the land for the very purpose of advancing the project, yet is now actively discouraging other citizens from doing the same. He argued that it is unfair for Daniel Hodge, the Nevis Reformation Party leader, to criticize the land sale initiative while benefiting personally from a similar arrangement.
Indeed, I am advised that prominent members of the opposition were among the very first to agree to sell their lands, to sign agreements, and to collect their monies. It cannot be right for high-ranking members of the NRP Nevis to sell their lands, pocket millions of dollars, and then turn around and blame the government. I have heard the recent public utterances of the leader of the NRP, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, and I wish to place on record that the leader of the NRP is one of two executors of the estate of her late father. She is a main beneficiary of the estate's lands in the south of Nevis. She was among the very first to sell her land for this proposed development and pocket her money. Dr. Daniel Hodge cannot sell her land and pocket millions, then turn around and tell Nevisians that the sale of the same lands by them is wrong. So you are not to benefit from your land, but Janice and her family are to benefit from their land. So she can count money, but you're not supposed to count your money. This is the height of hypocrisy and dishonesty.
Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge clapped back at the Premier, threatening to take legal action against him for what she deemed an attack on her integrity. In a written statement, she said, quote, "My fellow Nevisians, the Premier continues to lie on my name. He continues to attack my integrity, and in his desperation, he sinks deeper and deeper into dishonesty. Tonight, the Premier slandered my good name and claimed that I sold the lands on the southern side of Nevis and pocketed millions. This is absolutely false, and I will not sit on this. As early as tomorrow, I will pursue swift legal action. If the Premier can prove anywhere that I have pocketed millions from any land sale, I will resign my seat forthwith. That is how confident I am, because I know the truth. I do not understand how a human being can lie like this. This is sick." The Bible tells us in John 8:44, "When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." Unquote. The proposed special sustainability zone is situated on the southern coast of Nevis in the area of Long Point to Saddle Hill. In the ongoing debate, the real estate firm 17 Degrees North, owned by the Premier's wife, has popped up as a big player in the proposed development.
They allege that people will be forced to sell their lands. That is legally impossible. No one will ever be forced to sell their land. If you do not want to sell, you do not sell. All land transactions are private, voluntary agreements between buyer and seller. They have attacked my wife and her business. I wish to state for the record that my wife has had a fully licensed, fully operational real estate practice in Nevis for 20 years, even prior to my entry into politics. I have no interest in her business. Like any licensed realtor on Nevis, she is free to represent clients to buy and sell real estate as they wish. I can confirm that she is not buying or selling any real estate that belongs to the government of Nevis. She is engaged in private business, not government business.
Brantley, in his statement, explained that Nevisians have a right to accept or refuse to sell their lands. He denied his government's involvement in any land sales on the southern coast, saying that it is entirely private transactions between private landowners and purchasers.
Every Nevisian has the right to buy and sell lands as he or she wishes. Therefore, if anyone is approached to purchase his or her private lands, he or she has the right to say yea or nay, and of course to negotiate a price of his or her choosing. It should be obvious that the government cannot prevent any Nevisian landowner from selling his or her land, nor can we compel any Nevisian landowner to sell his or her land. The buying and selling of land are entirely a private matter as between buyer and seller, and it is they who must agree or disagree, as the case may be, on whether any particular parcel of land is bought and sold and at what price. It is therefore a monstrous misrepresentation for anyone to say to the people of Nevis that the government is involved in any large-scale sale of lands. Currently, the land sales on the South Coast are entirely private transactions between private landowners and purchasers. The allegation that the government is using compulsory acquisition under the new law to force Nevisians off their land is equally false and absurd.
The South Coast is a relatively underdeveloped landscape with no infrastructure in place, which Brantley views as an area that can be revitalized once the right partner and the right investment are in place.
Those who know the geography of Nevis will know that the South Coast is largely barren, with no development and no infrastructure. The lands in that area are owned by a large number of private landowners. I emphasize private landowners. The majority of lands in that area, originally owned by the government on behalf of the people of Nevis, some 238 acres, were swapped by the previous NRP-led NIA to the National Bank during the land for debt swap exercise. The people of Nevis have therefore already lost those lands. With the right partner and the right investment, these undeveloped lands can be restored, revitalized, and kept mostly green, while creating a community that is low-rise, sustainable, and environmentally responsible.
Brantley concluded that the people of Nevis entrusted him to lead the island, and part of the leadership is trying to attract a significant investment to Nevis.
In regional news, Guyana's president recommits support for U.S. regional operation, News Source Guyana reports.
President Irfan Ali has recommitted Guyana's support for the breaking up of criminal elements that are involved in the destabilization of Latin America and the Caribbean region, including those in Venezuela. The president told a political rally on Saturday that Guyana is fully behind the actions by the U.S. government to dismantle criminal networks in the region. The U.S. has deployed military assets and personnel to the region to curb a reported increase in drug trafficking criminal gangs. The U.S. says its operations in the region are intended to stem the flow of drugs and illegal guns. Speaking at his party's rally in Herstelling on Saturday night, President Ali said Guyana's support for the operations of the U.S. is for the preservation and safety of Guyana's own territory.
Today, there are more military apparatus in this region than 72 hours ago. And we must be able to navigate this complex environment with leadership. We must tactfully develop our strategies to ensure that our partnership, to ensure that our alliance, to ensure that our support do one primary thing, and that is to secure our country, to secure our sovereignty, to secure our future, and to secure our people.
The president reminded that Venezuela remains a threat to Guyana, and he noted that criminal gangs are known to carry out work on behalf of rogue regimes.
Let us not be blind to the fact that Venezuela poses a threat to Guyana, and the criminal networks operating out of there and anywhere else in this region pose a threat to us. And we have to align ourselves, and we have to prove ourselves as trusted partners, as serious partners, so that we can be part of an international coalition that stands for the rule of law.
Mr. Ali said the PPP government has proven to the country and to the world that it has the capacity and ability to make decisions that are right for the country and that will keep the country safe. He reminded that the country was threatened to the core 2 years ago, and the government had to navigate the country to safety with the help of international partners.
Today, like never before, we have every single bloc of the world supporting us in our sovereignty and national security. The Middle East, India, the Commonwealth, the OAS, the United States, Canada, UK, the Caribbean, you name them. This did not happen by accident. This happened by having good global leadership that people respect, that people honor, that people trust.
The government of Guyana recently announced its full support for the planned operations by the U.S. government, offering to assist in various ways.
St. Lucians to have say in medical cannabis and hemp industry consultations. DBS St. Lucia has that story.
The Regulated Substances Authority, RSA, is holding public consultations throughout St. Lucia over the next 2 weeks to get community and stakeholder input on its framework for medicinal cannabis and hemp. According to the RSA's Chief Executive Officer, Dylan Norbert Inglis, these consultations are a key step to ensure that all upcoming legislation and regulations are shaped with public feedback.
So we wanted to be certain that persons had an opportunity before these documents were brought to the Cabinet and to Parliament to give their views and to understand what these regimes would be. In some cases, people are familiar with the regime, in the case of alcohol, in the case of some of the other substances. But in some cases, there's not a lot of familiarity with what these substances and the use of these substances and the commercial activity of these substances would entail. So in the case of cannabis, we want people to understand what exactly the parameters of being involved in this regime would look like.
Discussions will center on the RSA's regulations such as cannabis cultivation standards, medicinal processing, cannabis transportation, advertising and marketing, packaging and labeling, religious use, and consumption spaces.
So we had the stakeholder engagement and community engagements to discuss the bill. And to support the bill, you have more intricate details couched in your regulations. So what are the requirements for the offense around your farm? What are the security protocols have to be put in place? These things would not be in the bill. They would be in the regulations. So we have released about 11 or 12 regulations, and we wanted to benefit from the views of the public. We don't want to implement a regime and be told thereafter that this is too onerous.
Interested stakeholders can join these public consultations virtually via Zoom. The first consultation will be held at the Grosley Human Resource Development Center on Tuesday, 26 August. Following this, another public consultation will be held on Thursday, 28 August in Castries at the Blue Coral Mall. For those residing in the South, there will be consultations on Tuesday, 2nd September in Soufrière at Cool Breeze and Thursday, 4th September at the Ministry of Commerce in Vieux Fort. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montoute reporting.
We now bring you these international reports.
Using tear gas and sound bombs, this is how the Israeli military stormed the city of Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. A busy area with markets, shops, and schools. Even a barber shop where people had sought refuge came under attack. The military targeted foreign exchange businesses, accusing them of supporting Palestinian armed groups.
The brutal Israeli occupation persistently continues to terrorize the Palestinian people. Today is yet another raid under false and frail pretexts, as usual, simply to abuse our people.
It's not the first time currency exchange shops have been raided. Since December 2023, Israeli forces have confiscated nearly $6 million from these businesses.
The excuse usually given by Israeli occupation forces is that those, in particular, those exchange businesses are linked to transferring money to terrorist organizations. That's how they refer to. But I think it's also important to remember that under Israeli military laws, pretty much every Palestinian organization, including human rights organizations and student groups, are considered to be terrorist organizations.
More than 50 people were injured during the hours-long military operation. Israeli soldiers also forced media crews away from the scene, despite identifying themselves as journalists. But even then, Israeli soldiers fired shots in their direction.
There is, again, no consequences because no one is asking, no one is imposing, no one is holding them accountable for their action on the ground.
But it's not just the daily military raids Palestinians are suffering under. It's the daily arrests, home demolitions, illegal settlement expansions, and repeated settler attacks. Palestinians say all these actions are aimed at deliberately making life unbearable for them. And since the war on Gaza began, there's been a surge in Israeli military assault and settler attacks across the occupied West Bank, once again displacing tens of thousands of families from their homes. Lina Abu Akleh, Al Jazeera.
There's evidence a renewables revolution could be beginning to take hold in Africa. The global energy think tank Ember suggests that imports of solar panels are up by 60% over the 12 months to June compared with the previous year. The data shows 20 African nations set new records for solar panel imports over the period, including Algeria, Zambia, Botswana and Sudan. Ugutu Okuro is founder and CEO of Guru Energy, a multi-energy company focusing on the deployment of energy resources. And she says solar power increases could be transformative for millions of people.
What we're seeing is Africa is the continent that has the most amount of sunlight, and this sunlight needs to be converted to energy. And so when you're looking at some of these different governments and you're looking at seeing progressive policy and what that is going to look like for the end users, I think it's absolutely fantastic. When we zero in on countries such as Nigeria with a population of over 250 million people, you realize that they fit part of the 600 million people on the continent without access to energy. And if solar has the capability to bridge that, then that is completely important right now.
What does it actually mean for the costs of countries which are buying more solar, and from what it then unlocks?
Access to energy unlocks potential and transforms lives. And when you have this access to this solar, what we're talking about is, first of all, you look at some of these different countries like Nigeria, you've mentioned also Algeria, you're going to be affecting the factors and the costs of production. And this goes for all goods. Energy is by far the biggest cost when it comes to factors of production. So the minute you have incentivized policy where you're saying, let's remove the value-added tax and fees and a lot of the red tape that exists in importation and use of solar home systems and solar PVs, then you're saying that we as governments are prioritizing electrification and energy across countries. And this is going to see costs drop drastically. When we compare different costs of manufacturing in different countries across the continent, we look and see that the countries that have had lower costs of manufacturing and costs of power and energy have been getting much more investment. Put into case an example, Ethiopia, it's approximately US dollar 18 cents, 12 cents for a kilowatt hour. Kenya is at 22. Nigeria has been at 55 cents. So if we're able to change this and introduce solar energy to be able to bridge this gap, then we're going to see a huge change in the factors of production, which is going to make energy access be more accessible, more affordable, more reliable, and definitely more deployable.
And most of the solar system is coming from China.
Yes, so that is the quagmire that we do exist in, and not only on the African continent today, but globally around the world. China is contributing approximately and are dominating 80% of the solar markets globally. So this means that most countries have to get most of their parts from China. Right now, we're seeing in Africa, Nigeria have just announced they want to build a solar hub that's going to generate 1 gigawatt. We see other countries also stepping up. And this is how you bridge the gap. You are able to step up with innovation through research and development in your own countries and on the continent to be part of that manufacturing line. And this is going to play a big role. But it's very important to ensure that before we put legislation for protectionism, we have to ensure that, again, this solar is affordable and deployable. And this is only going to be done through government as a facilitator and an organizer for private sector to thrive. Those incentives must be there.
13-year-old Fadl Abdurrahman receives treatment at Tanow Hospital in Omdurman. His 2 hands were smashed by an explosive device inside an abandoned home.
We were playing when I saw an iron object. I told my brother to hand it to me. When I pulled it, it went off.
His mother believes it's a small hand grenade left inside the ruins of a nearby home, and the boy pulled its fuse unaware of the risk. The Sudan Mine Action Center says 49 people have lost their lives and many more have been wounded by various types of explosive devices since the recapture of Khartoum by the Sudanese army in March. The center has launched a campaign to remove the threat. Part of it involves regular demining of recent battlefields across the city. Other activities include the collection of munition from buildings and streets, taking it to safe places to be dispensed with.
The remnants of war, such as artillery shells, were left inside people's homes, civilian facilities, ministerial buildings, and so on. We've been removing what we found and gathering it here, and right now we're getting rid of it. We don't have a time limit because people continue to discover more explosive material.
With meticulous preparation, ditches are dug in an open field outside Khartoum. Then explosives, along with the targeted munition, are buried under a heavy layer of sandbags. We're going to see 3 detonations involving more than 2,000 pieces of ordnance, including landmines, mortar shells, and other types of explosive devices. It's going to continue like this for the next few days until more than 50,000 pieces are destroyed. But that may not be the end of the campaign. The center has an open mandate depending on need. Even potentially reusable weapons, once found, are destroyed.
This program is sponsored by the UN, and for humanitarian considerations, we never hand any ammunition that we find to the army or the government. We get rid of it as hazardous material.
Hazardous, too, is the task itself for those in charge. They say they're working without the best protection gear and without sophisticated inspection tools. But they have to proceed with the program due to its extreme urgency. Mohammed Fal, Al Jazeera, Khartoum.
This corner of India, wedged between China, Bhutan, and Myanmar, is the front line in a water war between 2 Asian superpowers. Beijing and Delhi have plans for massive rival dams on a river that courses from a Tibetan glacier through both countries. On the Indian side, residents here in Parong village are pushing back, saying Delhi's dam would destroy their way of life. When India's largest hydropower company moved surveying equipment here last May, villagers vandalized machinery, demolished a nearby bridge, and ransacked police huts guarding the operation. Odoni Palop Habin runs a grocery here.
If the dam is constructed, how will we earn our livelihoods? So we will not allow the dam to be constructed. If the dam is built, the soil will be washed away. We produce our crops on this soil. We grow cardamom, rice, jackfruit and pear on this land. We use the produce to earn money, which helps us to provide education for our children and support our family. So we will not allow the construction of this dam.
India has been rushing to fast-track its dam since China announced its plans in December for a mega dam in Tibet. That would be built in a border county just before the water crosses into India. New Delhi worries that means that its longtime strategic rival could weaponize its control of the river and says a megadam of its own will mitigate risks. India's dam would be a reserve of water in dry seasons and a reservoir to hold back any sudden excess from China. The state's chief minister has called the Chinese project an existential threat. But for the villagers of Parong, the dam project poses a threat to their way of life as they live off paddy, orange, and sweet lime farms in the mist-shrouded hills and valleys nourished by the river. 2 sources familiar with the matter say at least 16 villages are likely to be lost to the storage area of the dam, directly affecting an estimated 10,000 people. Community leaders say more than 100,000 people will be impacted overall. Pago Jamo is an anti-dam activist. He told Reuters if the dam is built, the farmlands will be washed away. This river is part of our culture and civilization, he says. The villagers have set up makeshift watch posts on regional roads to deny access to workers of state-owned hydropower firm NHPC. That has forced security personnel to trek miles, often under cover of night, to reach a prospective site of the dam. India has a history of activist movements against large dams, which have sometimes slowed these projects by years or forced them to scale down. Even if India's dam gets the go-ahead, It could take a decade to build after breaking ground, according to 4 of the sources. This means the project would likely be completed after China's project, which Beijing expects to start generating power by the early to mid-2030s.
You were listening to the WINN FM 98.9 newscast. Our top stories were:
Elevate Heartfelt Moments initiative continues to provide family bonding opportunities for incarcerated individuals.
Premier Brantley confirms interest by an investor to develop a special sustainability zone in Nevis.
2025-2026 academic year opens with growth, resilience, and academic excellence in mind.
Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge threatens legal action against Brantley in the Nevis South Coastal Lands debate.
Guyana's president recommits support for U.S. regional operation. St. Lucians to have say in medical cannabis and hemp industry consultations. Internationally, child among 58 Palestinians wounded by Israeli army raid in Ramallah.
Thank you for listening.